Cerebral palsy is actually a complex of symptoms comprising various types of dyskinesis and posture dysfunctions, changing with age and conditioned by permanent brain damage in the stadium of not fully completed development. Other disorders accompanying movement dysfunctions are as follows: epilepsy, mental impairment, visual disturbances, hearing impairment, dysphasia, and behavior disorders. Along with the already mentioned disorders of psychomotor functions, children with cerebral palsy suffer also from various microdeficits. For example, sight and movement coordination disorders, body scheme perception disorders, body perception disorders, lack of orientation in space, concentration and thinking disorders. So various linked disorders occurring in various intensification and in various configuration in children with cerebral palsy constitute for these children premonitory symptoms of serious and multi-aspect difficulties with the process of learning. That in turn means the necessity of the proper organization of education for children with an early brain damage throughout preparing the adequate curriculum, employing the right people, adapting the premises, ensuring proper environmental and social conditions. Andras Peto, a doctor and educator, created as early as in the 40s of the last century a system of actions which perfectly adheres to the modern data concerning the problem of cerebral palsy. This system is so original and innovative that introduces to the medicine, which perceives the early injured child as a patient, the neuropsychological and educational aspect where a child is seen as the subject of functional learning. In the traditional understanding, the aim of the rehabilitation is to regain the lost skills. But in case of rehabilitation of a child with cerebral palsy, this term should be perceived in a different way. During the process of therapeutic rehabilitation of a child with early brain damage, the child does not regain skills, since it has never had them, therefore could not lose them. However, thanks to information coming from the environment and thanks to the genetic potential, the child can learn new skills. In accordance with the latest knowledge of neurophysiology and neuropsychology, during the process of functions learning, a very important role is played by the phenomenon of brain plasticity, consisting in the possibility of differentiating and adapting the response of the undamaged parts of the brain to the stimuli coming from the environment. Sensory, visual, auditory stimuli, as well as emotional and sentimental ones, influence the process of forming the neuronal network and the flow of information in the brain. The basic principle in conduct education system is the rule of facilitation. In conductive education, there can be distinguished 8 factors that operate simultaneously and make learning easier for a child, namely the group of children, daily routine, the therapeutic team, the first and the second conductor, task series, rhythmical intention, special furniture and equipment, proper interpersonal relation, including the child, all staff members and parents, transfer. The group of children.
Czy wszystkie dzieci są już gotowe? Wszystkie znalazły swoje miejsce i boksy? To musimy teraz pięknie się pobawić.
Conductive teaching gives vast possibilities of group work. Zofia Kłakowska, PhD, names the following advantages of teaching children with early brain damage in small, carefully selected groups. Group work enables children to repeat newly acquired motor skills, both in various everyday situations and in carefully planned games. Group work makes possible to work out the full picture of one's body and self-image, even through comparing oneself to the fellow group members. Group work both gives the possibility and encourages children to communicate using either speech or non-verbal means of communication and introduces the mechanisms of psychosocial interactions. Group work forms behavior patterns in relation to environment, gives the chance to imitate, cooperate, and compete. Staying in a group eliminates the negative consequences of isolation and subordination often observed during a prolonged individual therapy. Staying in a group makes possible organizing child's life in conditions similar to the normal ones. For example, the living conditions of any child of kindergarten or school age. Daily routine.
Przyjechaliśmy do przedszkola, prawda? To już było, więc ten znaczek odwrócimy.
Daily routine determines the rhythm of the day. Apart from giving the child a sense of security, the child knows what will happen to him throughout the day. Creating such a routine facilitates the process of learning. Numerous repetition of an action aids the involuntary rhythmic memory.
Polega na pielęgnowaniu rytmicznego trybu życia dziecka w okresie przedszkolnym.
Therapeutic team.
Każdymi zajęciami,
The first conductor and the second conductor. Each class, called in conductive education task series, is conducted by one person called the first conductor. It is the person who structures the tasks and creates the atmosphere in the group. This person has interdisciplinary knowledge of medicine, pedagogy, psychology, physiotherapy, and speech therapy. So well-prepared specialists can make complex judgment of child's development, plan their work, create individual and group programs, conduct educational, rehabilitation, and corrective compensatory exercises, as well as organize games and amusements. The conductor, thanks to versatile training, has the capability of perceiving and treating a child as the integral whole. Very often, this person is compared to the orchestra conductor, who, knowing the musicians and particular instruments in the orchestra, is responsible for the harmony and the final product in the form of the performance of a musical masterpiece. It is not someone who helps the musicians out in doing their job, but someone who directs their work to the right cause. In conductive education, a very strong emphasis is laid on the child's activity. There are also some other persons present in the class, so-called the second conductors. Their role is to make sure the child or children carry out their task properly. Task series.
Ja uginam łokcie i wsuwam się na stół. Ja uginam łokcie i wsuwam się na stół.
In the conductive education system, the equivalent of a lesson characteristic for the traditional school system are the task series, which constitute the basic organization unit of conductive education. Task series are highly structured activities, resulting from each other, organized in accordance with the principle of gradation of difficulty and development sequence, from easy tasks to the difficult ones. The task series are planned having the view of the target set in mind.
Posłuchajcie piosenki, będzie nam łatwiej sobie przypomnieć.
Śniegu białego na podwórko koło domu naszego przyszła zima, biała zima pada.
Each task series, just like any school lesson, is made of three basic links. The first one, the beginning. At this stage, the aims of rehabilitation and educational tasks are formulated. Second, task series, that is directing the process of generalization, consolidation and shaping the skills, habits, as well as connecting theory with practice. The third one, summary. This is the stage of control and evaluation of the results of teaching particular skills. Task series can be constructed for any task that will help the child solve everyday problems. For example, can be connected with mobility problems, self-service, communication with the environment, acquiring a knowledge. The basic task series in collective education system are task series on the plinths, task series on the boxes, the school of hands. Rhythmical intention.
Plecy proste, łokcie proste, moja głowa wysoko trzyma się.
Obok powszechnie
Apart from the well-known and compulsory didactic methods used in the process of teaching, a very important part in conductive education plays the method of rhythmicity of the instructions, called also the rhythmical intention. This method consists of loud and rhythmical announcing and defining the intended movements and activities. In other words, that is, verbalization of the intention of the movement. In order to learn any activity, we need verbal and optical instructions. The more complex the activity we learn, the more instructions and exercises are required. The rhythm organizes the movement. It is the base of any movement organized in time. The method of rhythmicity of instructions helps to formulate planning of the movement in the brain, helps the child concentrate on particular phases of executing the particular movement, and through that, to develop the mobile memory.
Jedna noga, druga noga, stoję prosto, pcham.
Special furniture and equipment. Looking at the equipment used in conductive education, we can notice that it is subordinated to the words used by Peto. By curing the hand, we can get a lot for nothing. The furniture is made of wooden slats and rods. Using them, a child is simply forced to practice the correct hand grip. A plinth. Quite often, even in the sitting position, when there is the point of support, it is impossible for a child to keep upper limbs steady on some objects. They keep evading the child's control. Only the fixation of one hand makes possible performing activities with the other. Thanks to gripping the slate of the plinth with both hands, it is possible to change the position from sitting to the standing one. The possibility of keeping hand either closer or further from the edge of the plinth makes possible to balance the body so that the body weight rests exactly on the feet. Holding the plinth, the child can learn walking by stepping sideways. It is of a great importance since the child can practice the skill of moving the body weight from one leg to the other. Lying on the plinth, the children can learn to change the body position. For example, turning from laying on the belly to laying on the back, or sliding from the plinth, which in everyday life can be transferred to getting out of the bed. A ladder and a chair. The back of the chair is shaped as a ladder. Therefore, it can be held in either sitting, standing or laying position. Thanks to that, it is possible to correct any of these positions. Obtaining the correct posture, however, constitutes only part of the task. This correct posture has to be maintained. If the child can keep the balance, either standing or sitting, it means that it has reached a very important stage of development, and using hands facilitates it to a considerable extent. Apart from plinths and chairs, rods, sticks and wheels are also used to rehabilitate hands. Proper interpersonal relationship. In conductive education, the system of multi-profile rehabilitation must be understood as a coherent set of elements, including children, all members of the therapeutic team, and parents, as well as content of teaching, rehabilitation, and rehabilitation environment, which acting and interacting serve the purpose of completing complex tasks and goals that have been set. The success of the process of rehabilitation of the child with early brain damage depends, among other factors, on mutual interactions of the therapeutic team and family environment. The therapeutic team should clearly define structure that guarantees proper cooperation of all its members. Be prepared in a multi-profile way for the work with a child, since this is what makes possible preparing the rehabilitation and education programs adequate to the functional needs of a child. Cooperate with the parents of a child. Cooperate to create the proper rehabilitation environment and help children to participate in the social life, both in the group and in the local environment outside the group. In order to achieve the set goals, it is absolutely indispensable to cooperate with parents who should systematically cooperate with the therapeutic team, be involved in the process of rehabilitation, consolidate at home acquired skills, possess the adequate knowledge of the problems of their child. We must keep in mind, however, that to maintain the full system of conductive education, both the therapists and parents should direct their activities also towards the local environment to remove the architectural barriers, as well as psychological, social and communicational ones, and also to prevent creating new barriers, so that the environment was child development friendly and guaranteed the child the maximum safety. Only then the child can walk step by step towards independence in the society without barriers. Transfer. One of the most important phenomena that must be consciously used and organized during the process of learning psychomotor functions, for example, during all task series, is the phenomenon of transfer. Many researchers regard transfer as the basic notion of psychology of learning. Transfer is understood as facilitating or hindering learning by previous learning. In conductive education, aiming at directing the child from dysfunction to orthofunction, the idea of transfer is of the utmost importance. Positive transfer is understood as transferring the acquired movement patterns to other movement tasks. Completing one task can prepare and facilitate performing another task. Each situation can be used and facilitate the next one. Negative transfer is understood as eliminating dysfunctions, pathological behaviors, and patterns. Proper directing the process of learning requires the knowledge of the rules governing our memory and the process of learning. That means the knowledge of both external elements influencing the process of perception, transformation and coding information, as well as the internal process, such as, for example, motivation. Making it easier for a child to react to all the stimuli provided in the process of teaching and learning, which leads to acquisition of orthofunction, is possible only when the integrated educational and rehabilitating activities are planned and put into practice in accordance with the methodology and principles of orthodidactic. Persons interested in enhancing the knowledge of the subject are referred to the publications devoted to the conductive education system published by the Association of Help for Disabled Children in Zamość.